Hello and welcome to Reef Talk. I'm Scott Anderson, and unfortunately, Steve Rodder of Rodder 2 Reef got called away on a family emergency, so he will not be with us. But we have Infamous Aquatics here today, so it's going to be an awesome show despite the fact that Steve's not here. So we wish him the best. I hope everything's good with him and his family. And today we're here with Infamous Aquatics, and we are going to talk about failures in reefing. Now, I know I've had many problems in my past with my tanks, and it's the failures and how you deal with them that make you a successful reefer. We can all put a tank together and have it do good for a while, but if you want to be good long term, you got to deal with the failures. So, Infamous, kind of tell us about some of your failures. We've been talking about this for a little bit beforehand, and you have some pretty good stories. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, your failures, and
Oh man, first I just want to say, what up, my fish tank ninjas? All right.
nice.
So, so as you guys know, in this hobby, it's not a matter of, I mean, in this hobby, you're gonna fail. Like it's just a part of it.
Absolutely.
Like you're gonna be doing good, you're gonna be doing good, you're gonna be doing it good, and out of nowhere, just like life, something's gonna come and blindside you. That's just how it is. But it's not what happens that defines you in this hobby. It's how you handle the situation and how you progress and the fact that you do not let this thing defeat you. All right. Now, since I started actually reefing about 8 years ago, I was like a senior in high school when I first got into this. I've had a lot of failures. Like I said, I've been through so much. I've been through almost everything but like a aptasia. I feel like I don't even know how I avoided aptasia, but fingers crossed on that.
I'm still
Uh,
battling that.
yeah. So like today though, I'm gonna actually talk about my first big issue, and that's like the verminided snails. How do you say it? Vermitid?
Yeah, I don't even
Vermit?
try to get the pronouncements right.
Yeah. So if you don't know, vermitid snails are actually like these almost spider-like snails. They actually form cocoons, like a shell. They don't really move around. They form like a shell on your live rock, your coral skeletons, and everything like that. But that's not really what gets you. It's they shoot these huge mucus webs out. And those mucus like webs, if you let your tank get out of control, actually will smother your corals to death. Like they will block your corals from getting any food, everything like that. And you'll like seriously just watch your corals just like close up and just never open up again. So I was actually in when was this? I was like probably freshman year of college when this happened. Like this was my first setup, so you can imagine as all of us or most of us, especially younger hobbyists, like I'm rocking a 55 gallon, 48 inch with what is it called? A T5 fixture, two bulb,
Yep.
like not even covering the whole thing, probably like not even enough to really keep LPS, like just sustain, not for them to
Right.
thrive, you know. And running a hang on the back skimmer and hanging on the back refugium. And what I learned was that something bad is going to happen, like no matter what. And I learned that when this happened, that you just have to be, you just have to get mad. Like, don't be scared. Like, honestly, like, mourning is a part of the process.
Right.
Like, the initial phase of getting upset and being pissed off is like healthy, I believe. Like, every time something bad happens to me, I allow myself, like, one day just to be, like, furious, you know, and just get that
Exactly.
out. I allow myself a little bit time to be, like, sad about it, and then you just got to get up, you know? You can't let these things defeat you.
So your tank was covered in those snails. How did you recover from that? I mean, I don't even know how you would get those calcareous things off your rockwork and everything.
Man, that I didn't either. You gotta realize this was 8 years ago. So this is before YouTube. This is like before all that. It was like Reef Central was the spot.
Right.
There was there's a local reef club I still use, Marsh Reef, which I just posted a video about, and no one like it's this pest isn't like a something that normally takes over your tank.
Right, because I know
Un-
I have some in my tank now, and they're not a problem for me.
yeah, I guarantee like almost everyone, if you have more than a few frags, have them in your tank. It's the fact that like I was a new hobbyist and didn't have actually the
Right,
stuff to keep my water column actually like crystal clear. So they were, and they're filter feeders.
right.
So I was just already set up. Like I wasn't patient, which is one thing I encourage everyone. I say that do two things: be patient and just keep at it. Like what is the word? It starts with C.
Yes.
Consistency and patience. And one thing I preach is like take your time when setting up a tank. Get the proper equipment. And 8 years ago, I wasn't. But when these things attacked the tank, like there was no information. I couldn't find anything. Like people don't have photos back then. Like on forums, this wasn't like a problem.
Right.
So it took me forever to even find out what these things were. The way I got rid of them was when they wiped the tank. I had to take everything out of the tank. I just
Oh
dried
man.
everything out. Yeah, they say when you have a few though, like when you have a few, they say just super glue the mouths shut. All right, and when you're adding corals, and I do this now that these took, I'm scarred. I'm scarred for life. I lost like $100 elegance coral that
Oh
was like
man.
10 years captive. This
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
this. Oh,
Yeah. When
killing
you
me.
kill something that's been in aquaria for 10 years, that hurts.
And on top of that, it's an elegance coral.
Which die anyway. So to have a 10-year-old elegance is spectacular, and then lose it to something
Exactly.
stupid like
And it's like, there's like, okay, it's not like I got this at the local fish store. I got it at the local reef club, and the guy had it for 10 years. So whose fault is it, dummy? Like,
yeah.
like, what do you do? It's like,
Oh
it's,
man.
you know it's your fault. You know you could have done something better. So all you can do is just learn from it and do better. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to take the punches to the chin and just get back up. Get back up every single time. Every single time. And unfortunately for me, when I finally figured out what these were and like how to treat it, the like the only option really was to take the rock out and dry it out
Oh
because
man.
there were so many of these things. And I mean, like my rock was covered in this stuff. Like it would hurt to pick rocks up
Oh man.
because I mean they were just like back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I know I've had a few in my tank where I've caught myself and I've actually been cut by them, and I didn't even
Yeah.
think they were a big deal.
I mean, technically they're not a big deal, but it's just one of those things. Like,
Right.
if you don't do the little stuff, and again,
Right.
as a new hobbyist, like, you don't do the little stuff, it's gonna get you. Like, this hobby is pretty established. Like, I was watching something, and who was it? Well, one of these like masters, right? One of these guys, like Sanjay and Paletta. Paletta was
Light
talking
up.
about.
Yes, he's one of my
Yeah,
favorites. He's
Paletta's
amazing.
awesome. Yeah. Like, what was I saying? I'm sorry. I got
You were watching one of Pauletta's videos, and you were
he's talking about
well.
dang,
From what I've
I'm
seen of Pauletta, this man is amazing. He's an incredible reef keeper, but what I love about Pauletta is he's been in the hobby for like 30 some years.
exactly.
But you watch what he's doing now. He's still trying new stuff, and he's still making mistakes, but he's absolutely telling everybody the mistakes that he's making.
Exactly.
He I think it's American Reef has a video of him setting up his sunlit tank, right? So
Hmm.
here he is, 30 years on in the hobby, setting up a sunlit tank, and he makes mistakes on it. I mean,
Yeah.
he shows himself having to correct the flow and updating stuff because he's making mistakes. And
Backing the black backing on the
yep,
background and the lid.
yep.
I
And this
love it.
is like the Yoda of reef keeping.
Hmm.
I mean, and I really appreciate the fact that he goes out there and he doesn't just fake it, right? It's not like everything's working great, but I decided to make some changes because I thought it'd be better. It's like, no, I made a mistake. Here's why it doesn't work the way I originally intended. Here's how I fixed it. I love that fact.
Yeah, and he's just so honest about it.
Yeah.
But what I just remember what I was talking about. I was talking about how the hobby is so established.
Yeah.
Like they're like guidelines. By no means like Paletta experimenting. A lot of us experimenting, yeah, but they're gonna have problems and those are gonna come up. But like little things, like the vermilion snails, like this hobby is established. You know, like there are like guidelines where like you should do this, you know?
Exactly.
And if you do basic research, you're gonna know you should have a skimmer appropriate to your tank size,
Right.
or you're gonna potentially have this problem. You should have a sand bed this thick to this thick, or you're gonna have this problem. Like
Right.
there are guidelines for like beginning hobbyists, and that's where we're fortunate as long as we do research and figure that stuff out.
So I think the new hobbyist failures is a fun one to cover. So when I was a new hobbyist, I set up a 29-gallon tank, similar setup to kind of what you were talking about. Hang on the back filter, hang on the back protein skimmer, T5s over it. I mean, this is just kind of how we did it 10 years ago. This was
Yeah.
really before the JBJ cube tanks were out and all that kind of
Hmm.
pre-done stuff. I mean, we spent $1,000 in these tanks. Kind of looked crappy, to be honest, when you
It was
look back at
kind
it. When you look
of.
back at it. But this is what we had. It was either you set up these little nano tanks like that, or you drop thousands of dollars and set these big setups up, which at the time I just couldn't do. I
Yeah.
mean, there was just no possible way. But what happened to me was I set everything up, and the tank did great. I mean, I had great coral growth. The zoas were spreading like crazy all over the rock. Everything I put in did well. I mean, I had a couple of clownfish in there. I had a little blue tang. That's a mistake in itself, as a blue tang in a 29-gallon tank. When you know damn well that you're not going to be able to set up a big tank for him later. So unfortunately, he got ick and died. So that's mistake number one. But the big failure was that everything started to die off. So like 6 months in, all my corals started to die.
Hmm.
And I'd go to the reef store and I'd give them a sample of water and they'd test it and everything would come back great. And I remember distinctly one of the guys working there testing my water, and he's like, "Wow, your water is so good. All your parameters are just perfect. I wish my water was this good." And I couldn't keep a freaking coral alive. It was so damn frustrating when I got the guy at the store telling me that my water's perfect and
And you
I
just
can't
can't
keep a
keep it.
coral alive. Nothing. Everything dies that I put in that tank. So
Oh.
finally, I just gave up on it, right?
Hmm.
So basically, my tank was a 29-gallon tank with live rock in it and a clownfish for like 5 years. That's all my reef tank was because I could not keep a coral alive in it. It was so damn frustrating. And then finally I start watching like all these reef videos and I start feeling like I can do this. I mean, I see successful tanks out there. This is kind of like when New York Stila was big and Ricketts Reef was big and all those kind of guys. So I really wish they'd bring their channels back because I really miss
Yeah,
those.
what happened to Stilo?
I heard his mom had some medical issues and he ended up having to take care of the family. I don't actually know firsthand, but that's what I've heard. But his tank was amazing. He did great stuff. It was that kind of information that came out that made me think that, hey, I can do this. So I really worked hard on getting my 29-gallon set up, and I started putting stuff in, and it did okay. It wasn't great. But what it did make me do was to take the plunge and buy the 90-gallon setup.
Hmm.
So I bought my 90-gallon setup. It was a used tank, came with all the gear. And one thing that it came with was one of the salinity gauges, right? One of those little needle style. So just
Yeah,
for
the
giggles,
hydrometer, that's what it's
not
called?
it's a hydrometer, but it's the needle style, right? It's not the floating one. So
Okay.
um, basically, just for giggles, I stuck it in my old 29-gallon tank, and my salinity was 1.031. I get out my other gauge, 1.026, just like I wanted. Oh, it turns out for the last 5 years, I couldn't keep any coral in my tank because I'm running a salinity of 1.031 where I need 1.026 because of a stupid $15 gauge. That
Yeah.
killed me
And
for 5 years.
oh, and it's so, and it just goes back to like being patient and just getting the proper equipment,
Right. But
you
I
know?
mean, who would have thought that stupid little gauge would have been that far off? I mean, I didn't even think when I went to the reef store to have them check salinity. I mean, 5 years ago, if they would have pulled out the reef rack for me and put it on there, we would have caught it.
They've been like,
But who would have
yeah,
thought about that, right?
exactly. But this is the bright side though. You didn't quit.
No, I didn't quit, but at the same
There you
point,
go.
I mean, 5 years of my reefing career was a
Is
clownfish.
yeah, and those instructions are always so like weird. Like they're like at this temperature, if you mix this much salt
Right,
into this amount of water, you'll get a salinity of this, and it's like some weird like it's not like an even number or anything. Like
right.
it's not like, oh, make sure your water's this temperature so you can get it at 1.025, 1.026. It's like it'll be 1.022. Like what?
Right.
I don't
Well,
want 1.022. I want 1.25. Like, why are you telling me how to get that? I need to know how to get, you know
right.
what I mean? And
Well,
it's the worst. It's the worst.
and what's funny now is I do have a refractometer. I think I just said that wrong. Refractometer. Um, and what's funny is I still use the old needle style, the one that actually I figured out everything was wrong all the damn time because it's fast and it's easy and it's consistent. While it's probably not the most accurate thing in the world, I stick it in and I get the same reading every time, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
well,
good.
the
So, and I mean, that's the important part is it's less about hitting that number of 1.025 or whatever, right? It's and then more about if as long as your tank's doing good and you're hitting that number stably, so consistently, you're holding that
yeah,
stability. That's the important part. But
yeah,
yeah, that
exactly.
was
Consistency.
for me. That was a massive failure.
And it's always something so little
Oh
that
yeah,
just gets you. Like something that you don't even realize. Like, why would I check my salinity? Of course my salinity is good.
but
You know?
even when I did check my salinity, it was always good. But it was a stupid piece of equipment that went wrong that killed me.
Exactly. Like, and it's just crazy. It just blows my mind. But again, the importance is like that consistency and the fact that you didn't give up.
Right.
Like you dealt with it, you understood like, man, something is wrong. And it took you a little while to like figure out what that problem was. But you never gave up and you eventually figured that problem out. And
Right.
now look where you are. If you would have quit 5 years ago, like you wouldn't be helping all the people you're helping right now.
No, and I
And
mean, and that's a lot of the reason I do the YouTube videos is because without YouTube videos, I probably would still have a 29-gallon tank with a clownfish in it. My
yeah,
clownfish is 10 years old, but that's probably all I'd have these days. If it wasn't for YouTube, I would have been like, screw this, I can't keep anything alive. But it was the
yeah,
community that made me think I can do this, right? I got lots of people out there doing it successfully. So that kind of got me into doing it. And I know we were talking earlier, and that's a lot of why you're doing it, which I think is really cool.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I truly believe like the YouTube community is the best community I've ever been a part of in
Oh,
the sense of
absolutely.
reef keeping. Like, well, shoot, like it's probably one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. You know, like, and I've done a lot. I've been in choir. I played sports all my life. I'm like active in a lot of things,
Yeah.
and this community on YouTube, specifically YouTube, is so positive. Like you get a troll every once in a
Right.
while
Yeah.
who wants to make fun of the tone of your voice or something like that. But hey, yeah,
Yeah.
like I was saying
Exactly.
earlier, thanks for sharing. But but you just gotta realize like by posting these videos, you're helping so many people. But on top of that, a lot of these people are helping you. Like you'll do something and they'll catch it, right?
Oh,
And as long as they're
absolutely.
not like coming at you in like some foul negative way, like CJ is really quick to tell you you're messing up.
Oh, yeah.
The world does not look good. That's not a good place for that. But he doesn't do it in the sense of like with like bad intentions or like with the intent of like calling you out or making you look bad. He's doing
Right.
it with the intent of like helping you. And there's so many people like that here that are just like quick to be like, hey, just so you know, like this is what I do. This is how, like what it does for me. You might want to check that out. Or they're like, this is my experience with that. And I realize 99% of the people on here are extremely positive, extremely helpful people. And that's why I post. I try to help as many people
Absolutely.
as I can, and they help me so much, so
Well,
much.
I remember I was watching a video. This is probably a couple years ago. I think the guy actually took the video down, but this guy was setting up this huge tank. I don't remember how big it was, but it was a good sized tank, and he had really nice equipment. Everything's right, but then he's got ball valves going to everything. And it looks great, except his ball valves are the copper ones. So he's got like 6 or 8 of these copper ball valves to control it all. And I guarantee YouTube just saved his ass
Saved his
I
life.
because I go down to comment like, dude, I don't mean to be rude, but your tank is gonna die immediately.
Yeah, especially if you want a reef.
Right. So but I go down and there's all these people already saying that like you gotta get those copper valves off. They're gonna kill everything. So, I mean, that was just one instance where somebody posted a video and the community came out and just saved his butt.
Imagine how much money
Oh, man.
was saved.
He would have been like me, though.
Yeah.
Put a coral in, dies. Well, why does he keep dying?
Yeah. And like me too, like we're just like out of nowhere, your whole stock just disappears over like a week or two because
Right.
these like something so little that you could avoid it if you just spent the few extra dollars in the beginning. Like like I realized in this hobby there's like no shortcuts. Don't take the shortcuts because
No,
you may be able to get like now with like lighting and stuff you can like get cheaper lighting, right?
right.
But there's no shortcuts. You gotta wait. You gotta be patient. You gotta do your water tests. Like there's no shortcut for that,
Absolutely. I mean, there's
and you just gotta keep at it.
there's some
But
technological advances that have come along to make it easier on people, like the
yeah,
bacteria bottle to start your tanks and stuff. I mean,
yes,
it makes it easier. I mean, you look at what Michael Aaron's doing with his tank; it's well stocked already, and it's been up for like a week or two. I mean,
yeah,
this stuff just wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago.
yeah. Oh man, remember 10 years ago when we were doing this?
Oh yeah.
Only the colors of the corals were only green and brown. Like hardly any like the only thing that had color was Zoas.
Well,
Like the SPS frags had a few colors, but
right.
man, that was such a long time ago.
Well, and I think it's hilarious because we were talking about Mike Valletta earlier. He did a article on reef builders where he went to Reef Palooza and he said, "There's no brown coral out there. I think I'm gonna get some brown coral and put it in my tank and call it the rare stuff because nobody has it in their tank anymore."
Anymore, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember like my first Euphilia was like a brown torch.
Right.
Like now it's like good luck finding that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy too is like now there's like I was saying this hobby's so established, there's not going to be huge jumps in technology anymore. You know, that's one thing Mike Paletta was talking about. He's like there's not going to be another like LED boom. You know, like now it's going to be very incremental. You're going to see about a 2-3% increase in coral growth if you do this or whatever.
You know,
It's not going to be these huge jumps.
I wonder if that's true because I think there could be some really cool stuff coming on with water chemistry. I think there's enough behind the water chemistry that we haven't figured out yet that we still might be surprised because I'm just
No.
blown away with what's happened in the last 10 years. When you go from
Yeah.
that 29-gallon tank that I set up to to like just a cheap BioCube these days, they're just infinitely better.
Yeah. Like I wish, you know, like when I set up that 55, I had an all-in-one system at hand. Like I would make my own all-in-one system, everything hang on the
Right.
back. Like that stuff. it's just come such a long way, and there's just so much information to help everybody out there right now. And it's just important to do that research to minimize those failures in this hobby. But just understand they're gonna come, regardless. It may not be that one thing that you're keeping your eye on so hard, but you're gonna have a failure. You just gotta deal with it. You gotta keep your head up, keep moving forward. Like Dory says, keep on swimming, keep on swimming. You know?
Exactly. So we've been going for about 25 minutes. I really like this topic. I think we come back next week and we just talk more about some tank failures because I know talking to you earlier that you've had some other pretty big nasty crashes that actually took you
I,
off of
I,
YouTube for quite a while. So I'd like to cover that stuff.
yeah,
But we've been into this
yeah, I would
video
love.
about 25 minutes or so. So I think let's cut it here and we'll come back next week and we'll talk some more about our failures in reefing. So until next time, I'm Scott Anderson with Mile High Reefers, and Infamous Aquatics is going to be back with us. And do you have anything you'd like to say before we go?
I would like to say, keep on swimming. I
Love it.
don't know. Oh, all right, guys. Thank you so much for watching.